Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for a few minutes of fun with some berry stamping. These are the beautiful, luscious new berries that I am so thrilled to have released with PaperArtsy Berries and branches. So there are twisted branches and there are berry branches, and I'm in the midst of sample making. So although you'll be watching this in February or maybe early March, I'm actually making in January, and the reason there are so many of these on the desk is I'm having to create doubles, having to create enough to have for the live sample launch, live launch release video so that I can show you samples, but there also need to be some up on the walls at the Creative World International Craft Trade Fair in Frankfurt, Germany, in early February. So I need more of these. I've got enough red ones. I've got 4, so I've got 2 for the launch and 2 for the walls. I've got enough purples of these large ones. I've got 2 for the launch and 2 for the walls. I need 2 more blue ones, and I need some more of these little ones. So these are the 2 sets. EAB 54 is the twisted branches, where you get some berry silhouettes and you get beautiful long branches that are just great. I will link obviously to the launch videos and all of that down below in the description, so do check out that for lots more samples using these. These are the EAB 56 berry branches, so you get a slightly larger berry on that, and on these twisted branches you've got little tiny berries that you can just bring to life, and of course ephemera, texture, words, obviously all on those. So check out the launch videos. These I've created using what's generally known as a sort of watercolor stamping effect, so that you can create a really lovely soft look, or you can create a much more precise and exact look depending on how and when you stamp and how much water you add to your inks. There's another good comparison between those. And as you can see, I'm applying multiple colors to each stamping, so that again you're getting a beautiful soft variation. So we're just going to do a bit of that today. So it's sort of watercolor stamping. It's sort of me having a chance to create extra samples that I need for both launching and displaying on the PaperArtsy stand at the Creative World in Frankfurt. And it's a chance for you to see the new stamps in action, but also a technique that is just really lovely to use on any stamps you've got. It doesn't have to be botanicals even, but to get this sort of balance between the precise and the watery. So why don't we start with these, because they're, yeah, so it's blue I need. Let me try and remember. I don't tend to remake. So when I'm creating samples, when I'm playing with whatever stamps I'm playing with, I like to play and then I move on. So coming back and trying to recreate something is not a process I'm very used to. This is my usual cheapy-ish mid-range watercolor paper, the Clairefontaine Studio Pad. So check out those details. I'll leave those down below. This one I just kept as simple as simple. I love that. This one's got a little bit of ephemera just masked in the background, so we'll take a look at doing that as well. Shall I start with, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm taking potting soil up through the center, so I'm just going to sort of angle the pad as I apply it so that I'm really only hitting the middle of those berries and getting some darkish brown ink right on that central area. Then I'm going to take, this is Pebble Beach, that was potting soil. I'm going to take that over the whole thing so that I've got a lovely sort of grey brown, the soft grey browns that I love. I might even add into that a little bit of pumice stone, because that will, when I go for the spritzing, that's going to give us a softer look. And then I think what I did was apply bits of Stormy Sky. Now, of course, you can do this much more precisely with distress watercolor pencils, if you have them, or with the mini ink pads, if you have them. You can absolutely do this with oxides, if you have them. Use what you've got. So that was Stormy Sky. This is just a touch of Uncharted Mariner going on to a few berries. So again, I'm angling it. I'm just hitting with sort of the corner of that ink pad onto a few berries. On this one, I'm not going to, I think I'm going to go for a quite precise one. I'm not going to spritz with water, but I am going to give it a good hard out breath across the stamp. I'm sure you heard that. That's enough moisture to just get those distress inks to move around a little bit on the stamp. There we go. So that's our nice precise stamping. Now, because I've got archival inks going up through the middle, quite a lot of that will have departed onto that page. The distress inks, there should still be enough, especially with a spritz of water. That was quite a good spritz because I'm going for quite a watery sort of look. There we go, over onto that side. And there we are, some lovely watery berries. So that secondary stamping just changes the look of the whole stamp. Just love it. I'm going to let those dry naturally because that ink will continue to move around. If the look is perfect already, you can by all means set it with a heat stamp straight away. But that's those couple of blue ones. We'll come back and do the ephemera stamping into the background on those so that you get to see it happen. But for now, let's move on to a couple of these little ones. I'm going to do one red one and one purple one for you, and then you've seen all the colorways, and then I can just get on with making enough so that I've got the ones that I need. What do I need? I need the berries. There they are. So these ones is a sort of soft loose berry branch. One of the things I'm really delighted with on these stamps is you've got your little dot of light built in. That's built into my sketch. That you don't have to add the dot of light every time you stamp these. If you don't want that there, it's easy enough if you stamp with distress ink. Just take a little bit of water and spread out the colour over that dot. And you're away and off and running again. Grand. Let's do a red one. So similar process for the base, of course. I would like some fairly dark browns in there. I would like then the Pebble Beach kind of across most of the berries as well, so that some berries are going to have that grey brown touch to them. I don't want colour everywhere. The reason I'm using some archival for that is I don't want my stem to get too watery. I'm very happy for my berries to get watery, but in the long run I'd like the stem to stay a little bit more, yeah, present. So I think what I'll do, I might just put a touch of Crackling Campfire in places, but mostly what I'm going to use is going to be this Lumberjack Plaid, which is a beautiful cool dark red. It's luscious for berries. And on this one, rather than the breath out, I think I do just want the lightest spritz of water from a long way away for my first stamping, like so. And as you can see, that's given me a fairly precise stamping even so. Going to just really soften it up for this next one and give it a good spritz of water. That's going to run around. I'm going to risk whatever happens on those branches happens. Let's tilt it at a slightly different angle so we get a slightly different look. There we go. Oh, that one's lovely. That's got a sort of really wintry look to it with those greys. And I'm not being precise about where I'm hitting. Excuse me, my brain went for a ride because I was counting things. I'm not being precise about where I'm hitting the stamp. As I say, if you want to do a really precise colouring in of this stamp with watercolour pencils, you absolutely can. You can also apply ink to the mat and use a brush to apply it to the stamp. But for me, this is really about randomness, taking away the control and letting it just move and play. Since I've got all of these here, I'm going to do the other thing, which is obviously important to me in these moments, is a little bit of spatter. And I think I'm just going to do it on some of these. I've done it in the colour because I had some left on the mat or whatever it might be. But I think what I really enjoy here is just a bit of the pumice stone to create a bit of aged paper, an aged paper look to it. There we go. Lovely. Lovely, a sort of softness grand. Let's pop those to one side to dry. And let's do a purple one for you, because the purple, purple I've been having lots of fun with. So this one, I'm going to get my bits of paper ready. Let's go purple, 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 purple. Actually, we are going to do 4, so we can afford to play around a bit more. So I say I'm doing this in order to have doubles. But of course, with this technique, it's also really good to work in multiples, because each stamping is a bit different. I've just noticed there's quite a lot of red on here still. So I'm going to do a proper wipe clean of that. Red is one of those colours that just seems to like to stay put. It stains, it sticks around. There's still red coming off there. I must have got something down into one of the gaps. Let's give it another. I mean, it wouldn't be completely disastrous to have some red ink on my purples, but I'm not that keen. As I was saying, using multiples for this technique is one of the ways to just get really interesting results. You want to stamp and then stamp again and spritz with some more water and discover how you enjoy the look. And if you decide the watery look is the only one you're really interested in, you don't want any of these precise stampings on your good paper, have a piece of scrap paper nearby that you can just do your first stamping on each time, and then, yeah, add the watery stampings to your good card. So this is shaded lilac. This is going to be a little touch of dusty Concord going in on just a couple of berries. Again, I'm angling. I'm just getting little corners. I noticed I got red on the end of the branch the last time round, so I'm just going to make sure I go back in with that potting soil to catch the branch. And then just the teensiest touch of the very intense Villainous potion. So again, I think I'm going to go for the first one with just a hard out breath. And see how precise a stamping we get with that. Again, I'm going to shift and change the angle on these a little bit. Oh, that's pretty. But I'm now going to go in with a little spritz and get a secondary one. There it goes, very delicate. And I'm sort of wondering whether I might want a little bit of the Stormy sky. So I'm going back onto a wet stamp now. There's still water spritzed on here. Going to reapply some of the Archival. Going to get myself some of the shaded lilac again, round onto those berries. And then maybe the Villainous potion. And I might steer clear of dusty Concord this time, just to see what I get. Did I already put some Stormy sky? I'm not paying attention. I just want something that maybe ties those blues that we had in with these purples. And I'm going to go straight for a spritz of water this time. So we've got one precise one. That's plenty. That's really nice. And then I'm going to go for another spritz. So this one should get nice and loose, particularly those end berries. Let's see what we get. It's going to be delicate on the branches because I've not got much ink left on the branches now. Oh, but it's pretty. There we go. Delicious. Delicious. So to these we can add obviously background stamping, a little bit of ephemera stamping, and we will do that in a moment. So there we go. Again, I'm going to put in just a little bit of pumice stone spatter. Was that pumice stone? No, that was frayed burlap because it's sitting to one side here. Because it lives in the same pile as the pumice stone. So when pumice stone is out, frayed burlap is often out. Glad I spotted that. Frayed burlap would be a bit much for this. I want it delicate. There we go. And if this is going on and it hits some of those berries, obviously they'll continue to be reactive to that moisture, and they might also spread out a little further. So let's do the very simple ephemera stamping for these first of all, because the ephemera piece on this stamp set is a beautiful guarantee. Love that. It's a beauty. So I'm going to stamp it in, again an Archival, just so that it doesn't ever react to moisture. Which way up is it? Big word at the top. And this is going to be partial stamping on these. Just having a look. I do want some words on, so I just need to make sure I leave room for words to happen as well. Let's see, maybe down here. You're quite high up, aren't you? So you could go above that one. And you could go off to the side here. Nice jaunty angle. And you could come maybe down at the bottom here. There we are, simple as that. Let's get one onto here as well. You could maybe come up here, maybe the other way. That's good. Where's my other red one? I must have done 2 red ones. There it is. Let's maybe put the word up high on that one, so this could go down low. There we go. And optional, with a little bit of ink, one could just, oh, that's the frayed burlap again. No, no, no. No, no, no. You can create a slightly more impactful bit of ephemera just with a little wash of something like the pumice stone, which just creates that illusion that this is maybe a separate label that you've stuck on an external piece of ephemera added over the top, or if you like it just blank, you can leave it in the blank version. So that's with a touch of pumice stone over the top. That here has not yet had a touch of pumice stone over the top. Just a little sort of extra detail to enjoy. Okay, final step is just to show you how I did a very basic masking of these berries. I didn't bother doing a full cut-out mask for these. I cheated. So let me show you how I cheated. I've zoomed in just a little bit for this part. When I'm sample making, there are always on the table little strips of paper that I've trimmed off from the edges of things. And rather than cut a proper mask, so you could stamp on another piece of paper, cut round it, and then you can use that as a really official mask. We've done that in the past with I think some of my florals. I quite often cut the mask in tracing paper so that then I can really see where I'm laying it over the top. You could absolutely do that with these berries. Sample making doesn't allow for that kind of time quite often. So what I did with these was I just picked up some of these little strips of paper that were lying around the place, and I used them to create a fairly random but generally effective little mask for the berries that might be in the firing line. And I just kind of lined them up so that I would feel I could stamp and tell a story of this lovely Henrik Ibsen. It's actually not, Ibsen's a playwright. It's not a play poster. It's actually an advertisement for his collected works being published as a book. But it's a beautiful piece of ephemera. It's not Shakespeare. I know, Shakespeare's my usual obsession when it comes to playwrights. But Ibsen's pretty darn good. And what I loved, and you're about to see it, is the font on this is just magic. So that little berry I can see, if I stamp this far up, that little berry is still showing. And so I'm just going to tear an extra little bit of paper to cover him up as well. And I don't mind that it's loose. That's fine. As you'll see, let's stamp that kind of there. It's just off. Now with this, because I've got those masks in place, I need to make sure I press down kind of round and down round those. There you can see the full stamp, beautiful as you see. But as soon as I remove these pieces of paper, look at that, magically my berries are in front of it. And as I say, I don't mind about this roughness. That to me is quite pleasurable in a way of doing that. And I can make it show less when I do, as we just did, my pumice stone painting of this piece of ephemera, again to make it look like something that is there. Even though there are no words going up close to those berries, if I take the colour up closer to the berries, it's going to kind of fool the eye into thinking the whole of that poster is going on behind there. So this is a water brush. You don't have to have a water brush for this. You can dip a brush into water and do it. I just find the water brush is both really deliciously fine tipped, which gives me a lot of control and a lot of precision, but also that little bit of extra water available helps things to stay. So that that for me works perfectly well as a way of doing this. Going to come in maybe the other side, cover up those berries there, cover up that berry in case it goes to there, and I'll maybe pop one over these two in there, and then I'm going back in. So again, I'm stamping in the Pebble Beach Archival because that's got a lovely subtle grey beige tone to it. It's not too in your face, and I want the berries centre stage. This is background. It's background. That's quite a strong coating of the pumice stone, and I'm good with that for this. Let's go, should we go a little higher up, just for contrast. And again, I'm going to make sure I try to press down and round where those masks are. Again, a bit messier because I've now got double layers of that. As soon as I pull it away, there are the berries revealed behind, with the poster behind them. So again, just picking up some of that pumice stone. If I hit the berries, remember they are distress ink, so they are going to respond to this water. So although it may look as though I'm being very loose and carefree here, I am actually being quite careful not to hit the berries in between. Not that that would be ugly either. If there was a little bit of blue spreading out into that poster, I think I'd be perfectly happy. There we go. So I'm going to add a few words to these, similarly to these: simplicity, soothing silence, really powerful, potent, calming words for what seems to be a very hectic world. Yeah, as I say, I'm speaking in January, filming in January. You'll see this in February, March. Who knows where we'll be by then? But I hope you've enjoyed that little insight, both into some of my sample making process, into this way of multiple stampings to get yourself that variation between the soft look, the precise look, the watercolor stamping of that. Also, these will, of course, get mounted onto some card, again, to frame them, to make them pop, the ones that go up on the panels at Creative World, and to make them pop when I share them with you in the launch videos. Yeah, the launch videos will now have happened when you are watching this, so I'll link those in the description below as well. I hope you've enjoyed checking out some of these berry branches, and we'll take a look at some of the bodies next time around as well. As you may already have spotted, this launch has got a whole new look stamp set in it too. Thanks so much for your company as always. If you've enjoyed this, do give me a thumbs up, leave comments or questions down below. I will leave relevant ingredients and links in the description below the video. Thank you for your company on this creative journey. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love it if you would join us. And you can always click bell notifications so that you know when new videos are published. Still Wednesdays and Saturdays for the moment. It's going to be a busy year though. We'll see how we go. Thanks so much for watching, and happy crafting all.